cider will flow in the West Country tonight. Look at them going mad.
Second place Somerset have kept their chances of winning the title alive going into the final 2 rounds of the season. On the Taunton pitch, sometimes known as Hyderabad, spinners Jack Leach and Archie Vaughan have taken 5 wickets apiece to secure a 111-run win over leaders Surrey. I'm Andrew Alderson and that's Newstalk ZB News and Sport with roofbuddy.co.nz. Everything you need under one roof. It's 10:05.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Good morning. The southern is now moderate heavy city-bound Ellerslie to Green Lane. The northern is moderate heavy Constellation to Sunningnook. There had been no delays there half an hour ago, but it's gotten slow in that usual patch. The northwestern no delays. The southwestern is free-flowing. And if you see something, you can call it through on 0800 JAMMED. That number is 0800 52 66 33. Tim Roxburgh for Time Saver Traffic.
Newstalk ZB Weather Watch 24/7 with Panasonic OLED TVs. Be mesmerised with next-gen AI. For the Manukau Harbour, a northwesterly of 10 developing this morning. Waitemata, northerly 10 this morning, rising to 15 for a time, afternoon and early evening. Hauraki Gulf, northwest 10 this morning, rising to northerly 15 this afternoon. And Bream Head to Cape Colville, northwest 10, rising to northerly 15, but 20 about the channel this afternoon. The next high tide at Auckland is 20 to 3, and for Onehunga, it's 6 o'clock this evening. Often cloudy for Auckland today, chance of an afternoon and evening shower. Northerlies developing this morning, high 18, dropping back to 12 tonight. Tomorrow, rain developing in the morning, fresh northerlies turning lighter southwesterly in the afternoon, and a high of 18 tomorrow. Right now, 16 degrees.
Talk back with Christopher Luxon on Kerre Woodham Mornings with pinnaclelife.co.nz. Easy online life insurance. Call 0800 80 1080. Newstalk ZB.
Turn the microphone on. Kerry, done this before? Yes, I have. Newstalk ZB, 10:07, and this is our Christopher Luxon hour. The Prime Minister's been around the world since becoming PM almost 10 months ago. 12 countries, 9 trips, more to come before the end of the year. Christopher Luxon is here with us now for our quarterly catch-up, taking your questions on 0800 80 1080. Good morning to you.
Good to be with you.
What are you doing tripping around the world, getting your air points up, staying in Gold Elite?
No, I wish it was. It's like 25 meetings a day, but when I'm offshore, but it's really busy. But I'm going out on recess weeks typically to make sure that we're actually getting the hustle right to get the exports doubled in value over the next 10 years, but also attract investment into New Zealand. And a lot of across the Indo-Pacific region, the Southeast Asian countries, Northeast Asian countries, that's where all our future sits. There's massive opportunity for New Zealand. And yet we've got some short-term pain to get through and navigate at the moment. It's pretty tough out there. But the long-term thing is we've got to grow the country. And actually growth requires us to double the value of our exports in 10 years, and it requires us to get investment into the country. And a lot of these places I've been visiting, we haven't had a Prime Minister there since 2015. So, Thailand, where I was, Malaysia, Korea,
Are they receptive?
Very receptive, just that we haven't been share of mind because we haven't been out and about. So That's why I've said myself, Winston Peters, Judith Collins, Todd McClay, that's the 4 of us. We meet sort of every couple of weeks and we're saying, right, how do we lift the intensity and the urgency of these arrangements?
All very good to get markets for our exports, but we're not going to have bloody exports, are we, if the price of electricity is going to double in a week?
Yeah, well, that's been a major challenge. Just for everyone listening, it's not actually consumer prices that have been fully affected. It's what's called the wholesale electricity prices.
Spot prices.
Yeah, and that's what, if you remember sort of 4-6 weeks ago, we had some of the most expensive prices in the world. We've done some things in the short term, like we've obviously got the TY deal settled. We didn't put any government money in. We let that get sorted commercially for 20 years. That was a good arrangement. That gave people certainty. We then also have got Methanex releasing gas and making that available to the system. And we've also...
But they're contracting.
Yeah, sure. But in the interim period, if you look at wholesale prices, the last few weeks, they've really come down big time. In fact, they've been really reasonable.
But how can you run a business?
Well, that's what I'm saying, short term. But what's happened here, let's be really clear about it. And I want people to understand. Sorry, I shouldn't say let be clear about it because you'll kick me under the table again. But what I want people to understand is that when you go out and say we're going to ban oil and gas, which sounds like a very lovely idea, it has second and third order implications that no one thought about. And the upshot is that when we have a dry year like we're having, the driest we've had since 1992, lakes are low, not enough sun, wind's not blowing, our renewables don't fire as well as they do, and we need gas, and we're going to need gas for some time.
And we need coal.
Yeah, well, we need gas ideally because actually gas is half as bad as coal, not as good as renewables. But what's happening is the perverse thing is you end the oil and gas ban. Now we've stopped producing domestic gas, and now we're importing huge quantities of coal. So it's worse for global greenhouse gas emissions, and that's why it's
burn
easy.
The coal we mine?
Well, it's a different type sometimes, and it's actually used in things like solar panels and from the west coast of the South Island, for example. It's really good quality coal, and it's used for that sort of purpose.
So we get more money selling it offshore and importing lower grade coal than
Well, we shouldn't be importing any coal because this country has abundant natural resources. But what happened was when you ban the oil and gas exploration, no one's been exploring for the last few years, and as a result, no, we don't. We've got LNG here in New Zealand. But why would you invest in New Zealand? You've got 195 countries to invest in. You're these big companies that come in, they explore, they then get the gas out of the thing, put it into our pipelines, send it around our country. But why would you bother when then they've said they're going to kill oil and gas? So the reality is, yes, we need to double the renewables that we've got, and we're going to do that through fast-track provisions. We've got, I think, almost 20% of the projects that have come forward are actually people wanting to build solar farms, wind farms, all that good stuff. We've got to double that amount of energy, but we're also going to need gas for some time, and that's why we've got to look at importing LNG and also getting domestic gas production up, because when you don't do that, you end up importing huge amounts of coal. I think Genesis has burnt 280% more coal than it did last year. Well, that's not good for emissions or the climate or anything. So that's why I say if you're an environmentalist, get on board Green Party, Labour Party, actually support the legislation we're putting through the House on fast tracks and on ending the oil and gas ban. So we're going to need gas for a period of time. We are one of the top 5 countries in the world today around renewables, or I think we run about 87% renewables. Yep. Every other country I go to runs at about 15 to 20%. So we are well ahead of everybody else. We need to continue to double that quantity of renewables, but we also need gas for some time, and let's acknowledge it.
Yeah, we do. Seeing as the government is a majority shareholder in all the gentailers, what are we doing to force their hand about investing in more renewables or bringing the price down?
Well, here's the deal.
I know we don't like interfering in...
No, but what happened was when you had TY sitting out there, which consumes up to 13% of our electricity, and that deal wasn't locked up, it was done on short-term deals. Over the last few years, I've talked to TY and to Rio Tinto and the owners, and we basically said, you guys have to get to a commercial decision with the electricity companies for the long term, and they've got a 20-year deal. So we know that that's now settled, because when that was up in the air, if you're an electricity company, why would you invest? Because you're not quite sure what you're planning for in terms of demand, and they're a big part of the demand that's consumed in energy. The second thing is, Megan Woods had this crazy idea called Lake Onslow. They want to spend, I think, something like $16 billion. It would probably be $30 billion by the time it finished. And that, as a result, meant that all the electricity companies sit on the sidelines not wanting to invest their own money, and we have to spend taxpayers' money because that was the plan, and it wasn't going to be available to 2040 or something ridiculous or beyond. So all of those things have been sorted. We've said killed Lake Onslow. We've sorted out TY. And as a result, we're saying to the electricity companies who, in theory, when I talk to them, want to spend $20 to $25 billion of their own money, not taxpayers' money, actually building out renewable energy projects. But it's been ridiculous. It takes you 8 years to get a consent for a wind farm that actually powers 130,000 homes and 2 years to build it. And what we're saying under fast-track provisions, one-stop shop stuff, that you can get that done in 1 year as a consent, and then you go build it, and then we get the benefit of it much quicker.
All right.
So,
I think somebody sent in a question. Where are we? Somebody sent in a question about fast track, and I think Helen will find that, and I'll ask you that after the break. That was sometime in the last hour. But we will go to Glenn, who's one of my favourite farmers from Otago.
G'day, Glenn. How are you?
It's the same Glenn. Good morning, Glenn.
I'm very good. Thank you very much for your time, Prime Minister. I know how busy you are. I know how busy you've been.
Good to see
this is quite a specific one. National Policy Statement Freshwater 2020 is still floating around out there.
Yep.
You guys have said we are repealing it. The council's hands are tied. They have to notify by December 24, is my understanding. Can you please change that? Just repeal it and go to this 2017 standard, which was fine.
Yeah. We're doing a heap of work in that space. You've probably seen, Todd McClay. And
I have, yeah. The thing is that time bomb that David Parker left in there in December of this year, it's only 2 months away. And so they have to, all the councils are working flat out to notify by then, because that's what the law says they have to do. So,
Yeah,
Can you just change that?
Yeah. No, Glenn, I think as you've probably worked out, there's been 20 things I think we've done in the first 6 or 7 months just to free up the red tape that's been existing in the farming sector. I'm well aware of freshwater's a major one. We'll be very pragmatic and practical about that. I'll go back and double check. I had a funny thought that we had actually said to councils, hang on, there's going to be a change coming, please don't force something that isn't...
that's correct, you have, but
Yep.
they are replying and saying, well, the law says we have to do this by December 24, and that's the problem. They're sort of
I know a lot of councils have taken our direction where we've said, hey, listen, change is coming, don't bust your butts trying to do something that's just driving chaos into the system that does not need
my
it.
one, the LRC, though.
Yes. So it might be a specific council problem that we've got down there, so let me follow that up and we'll come back to you.
I'll hold
Thank you very much, and good job.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Newstalk ZB, it is 10:15.
iHeartRadio. It's not for everyone. In fact, it's exclusively for you. iHeartRadio. Your choice of music, your choice of radio, and your choice of podcasts.
Run your business like a well-oiled machine on NZ's most reliable mobile network. Search One New Zealand Business Mobile. Plans from $39.13 a month. Awarded by Umlaut in 2024. Fair use and terms apply. Price excludes GST. One New Zealand. Let's get connected.
It's spring. Time to plant your veggies with VeggiePod, the world's #1 raised garden bed and the easiest way to grow your own veggies at home. For more info and to buy your VeggiePod, go to veggipod.co.nz.
When it's time to recoat your roof, call the Coolfire guys. Why? Because when they recoat a roof, it's guaranteed with their Coolfire 12-year warranty. Although in reality, it'll be good for a lot longer than that. The right products, the right expertise, and the right advice make Coolfire the right choice to recoat your roof. To find out if a recoat is right for your roof, visit coolfireroofs.co.nz.
Call the Coolfire guys. Call the Coolfire guys.
Hear that? Someone loves Petstock's everyday low prices. Petstock's passionate about pets. It's as simple as that. So they want to make sure everyone can afford the best for their furry friends. Like Brevecto Plus Cat Medium 1-pack, just $71.90. Or Royal Canin Labrador 12 kg dog food, a low $167.90. Everyday low prices, everyday value, everyday happy pets. Get everyday low prices at Petstock. 8 stores Auckland-wide or at petstock.co.nz.
Okay, wood-fired pizza. We have pepperoni with extra pepperoni for Tony and rocket and pear for Claire.
Oh, seems like you're getting the hang of this pizza thing, Brian.
And liver and tripe combo for Maud.
Pardon me?
So you can give it to Bob the dog.
Might taste better than your casserole the other night.
Eat up, everyone. E-bike riding an hour.
Retirement living at Arvida. Life your way. Visit arvida.co.nz.
Shopping at the warehouse feels so right. Finding tons of bargains day and night. A pair of new shorts and fresh new tees. A bunch of tasty snacks and groceries. A lavender candle when the day is done. Board games, puzzles and water guns. A karaoke mic to sing some jams. A little bit of everything for the fam.
Where you'll find everything for everyone at even better prices. The Warehouse, where everyone gets a bargain.
The hard questions and the analysis. It's Heather Duplessis-Allen Drive.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
One news correspondent, Logan Church, was at the debate.
So today, the poor sissy manager of the city of Springfield actually put out a video statement saying the narrative surrounding our city has been skewed by misinformation.
Heather Duplessis-Allen Drive with One New Zealand. Back today at 4, only on Newstalk ZB.
No, you can't say anything now because that's only for the ad breaks. Right, we did have a caller who wanted to know about the Ashburton Bridge. He's dropped off, and that's fair enough. The South Island quite like to know if any money is going to be spent on infrastructure in their island.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, obviously, you'd know in Christchurch we've spent a huge amount of money post-earthquake. Tens of billions of dollars have gone into Christchurch, and we've got some very good infrastructure there.
Yes,
we've got
great.
some very good roads north of North Canterbury that we're wanting to do. Pegasus Bypass. Ashburton Bridge is definitely on our list. It's something that I've spoken to Mayor Brown about a lot,
yep.
Neil, and also I know Simeon's been down there as well, Simeon Brown, looking at all of that. So we're very much on board with the Ashburton Bridge. I know it well. I used to drive from Christchurch to Tynwald to see Amanda when she was teaching at Tynwald School, and I drove through there the other day actually at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was like literally being stuck in gridlock traffic here in Auckland. And so we know there's, that's a critical piece of infrastructure. I think from memory it's about $94 million or close to $100 million investment that we've got to make down there. So I just don't have the top of my head. There's about 50 projects roaming through my brain at the moment that I'm thinking about around roading projects, but it is definitely happening. Yep.
$10 of the infrastructure budget for everything going on the Northland Superhighway.
Yeah, just say, look, I mean, we've got major problems in infrastructure, and what we're saying is we're going to sort out the financial mess that we're in when we've started that process, inflation, interest rates. Yes, we're in recession. We've got some unemployment challenges, for the next few months, I suspect. We'll get that sorted and we'll get the country moving and growing. But the big opportunity is to grow the country properly. And one of the 5 things we have to do is build modern, reliable infrastructure across the country. And a big part of that is actually roading. It's also housing. It's also hospitals. It's schools, a whole bunch of things. But on the roading side of it, Simeon's just announced we're going to put $33 billion, I think it is, over the next 3 years into roading. And into the network. But the bigger issue is we also have to be able to access foreign capital, domestic capital, and do things in public-private partnerships. We can build roads on the government's balance sheet that might appear in 2060 or 2070, or we can pull those forward by actually doing partnerships and building those roads much quicker, much faster. But from Auckland to Whangarei, 4-lane highway, that has to happen. We've talked about that for decades. I'm sick of the talk. We have to get going with it. We've already got the next phase consented beyond, I think, Wellsford to Warkworth. And then we've got to find a pathway through the Brynderwyns and then come back from Whangarei down to join that Brynderwyns link up. So we are very, very focused on that because that is the single biggest thing that would actually accelerate growth in Northland, one of our most challenged areas in this country. So, there's lots of things we've got to do, but you've got to be really clear about boiling it back to, if I could just do one thing, what would I do? I would do a 4-lane freeway from Auckland to Whangarei.
Excellent.
So we are looking at that, and we might have
to open up the port as well. So the port of
once you've got that flow happening of that traffic, and you've got a consistent, if you think about the poor people of Northland trying to come down to Auckland through the Brynderwyns, the road's been in slip, it's been it's closed, it's been really Mickey Mouse and very, very difficult. It's a huge loss of productivity. So the economic benefits of that road, as big as it will be to get that investment away, we will look at partners that can support us with that, that might be able to put their capital in. Yes, it might have some tolls, but if that means you get that road placed 20 years sooner than you would if the government can get around to afford it, and it's cheaper to do today than it will be in 20 years' time, we might as well face up to these issues now and make the tough decisions and get these things underway. Now, it might mean we have to run things very differently because we spend a lot of time on resource consenting, and that process has taken a long time and it costs huge amounts of money. And we might have to use some more centralised powers to actually power through and get that road approved and happening quicker. So I'm over the talk. We've talked about it for decades. It's got to happen. We're determined it's going to happen because it's the single biggest thing. When you get that road working, that will unlock huge amounts of growth in Northland, and then you'll see people wanting to invest in ports and tourism and hotels and a whole bunch of other things that will create opportunity up there.
Well, it used to be the commercial hub of New Zealand in 1840.
Correct.
So, yeah. Baz, you've got a question around infrastructure.
Hey, Baz.
Hey, good morning, Prime Minister. My name's Baz. I'm a civil engineer, 5th generation immigrant from China. My question is really, is there any possibility to build a backbone of infrastructure that will transcend all political differences across the political spectrum?
Great question.
I mean, we have the backbone there. I mean, a different party, when they come into power, they can grow the limbs, hands, and fingers as they see fit.
Yep.
But,
that's a good question, Baz.
Fantastic question. You're really right. Cambridge to Pieri, it's been on, off, just as a road extension under different political parties and governments. We've got to stop that. So what we want is a 30-year pipeline of projects, not just ideas, but really hard projects of what we're going to work through over the next 30 years together as a country. Other countries do that. We can do that. We're also going to have 10-year city and regional deals, so we're clear about the critical infrastructure for sub-regions of New Zealand. And then 2 weeks ago, we created what's called the National Infrastructure Agency, which is one place that will actually deal with the funding and financing of these projects as well, using private capital, government money, and overseas capital to get them built. Now, I think, Baz, if you put those things around, then through political cycles of changes of government, we should have infrastructure as an independent thing that just like it is in New South Wales. If you go, I took Shane Jones and Chris Bishop and Simeon Brown to New South Wales recently with me. We spent a whole day just talking about infrastructure in New South Wales, how they do it. I met with former premiers, current premiers. I met with Infrastructure New South Wales. It's an independent body that says these are the priority projects that we have to invest in, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Labor-led government or a National-led government, those projects continue.
Might have been helpful to take Chris Hipkins with you if we were true.
Well, no, I mean, we will, and we're very open, and we've already reached out to the other parties across New Zealand to say, look, we want to work in a bipartisan way on infrastructure.
Come on a jolly to New South Wales.
But I think first and foremost, we owe it as the government to actually get that list together through the Infrastructure Commission on those 30 projects, and then come back with the political parties to say, hey, listen, guys, we don't really want politicians interfering in this stuff. We need an independent body that we all respect that actually says these are the critical projects for New Zealand that have the best return on investment, will make the biggest difference to the country. So that's the way that I think we've got to go forward with. We need to get some of that scaffolding in place first, but we've already said up front that we would love to work in a bipartisan way with parties, because I agree with you. I think it's silly that we're in a ridiculous situation where roads are turned on and off, and road building is pretty simple when you look at it around the world. It's a pretty basic thing to do, and we have politicians interfering, and that's stupid.
Thank you very much. Newstalk ZB 1026.
Hurry in for the final days of Rebel's MVP sale with hot new deals added like 25% off Puma clothing and 20% off all running shoes, tennis and he-net. Plus more in every store. Ends Sunday at Rebel Sport.
A good male role model makes all the difference to a boy without a father in his life. Big Buddies do just that. If you're a good guy with a big heart and can volunteer a few hours a week, then find out more at bigbuddy.org.nz.
Dream big, sleep better with Beds R Us, and enjoy up to 60% off a huge range of selected sleepyhead. Plus, find your perfect match in minutes with Sleep Map. Only at Beds R Us, where dreams begin.
Kiwi boaties are going overboard. About Mariner Insurance, visit mariner.co.nz today and find out why boaties rate our boat cover excellent on Trustpilot.
Your ticket to UK and Europe in 2025 is here with You Travel and Cruise early bird specials. Fly premium economy with Singapore Airlines and unlock the best of Europe with Trafalgar or an Insight Vacations premium tour. You Travel and Cruise early bird ends 30th of September. Call 0800 You Travel or visit youtravel.co.nz today. Because no one sees the world like you. Travel periods and conditions apply.
Tackling a home reno, DIY project, or looking for some design inspiration? The Northland Home and Lifestyle Show is back this September. Chat with the experts, compare prices, take home samples and lock in amazing show-only deals. The Northland Home and Lifestyle Show, powered by One Roof Property. September 27th to 29th at Mackay Stadium, Whangarei. Early bird tickets from just $3.50. Book at homeandlifestyleshow.co.nz.
Looking to buy your dream home? Find out what's for sale and what it's worth at oneroof.co.nz. There are thousands of property listings right across the country. Accurate estimated valuations based on the very latest sales figures, along with up-to-date news from trusted industry experts. Everything you need to know is at oneroof.co.nz. So, if you're in the market or even just thinking about it, make your search simple at One Roof Property. oneroof.co.nz.
Talk back with Christopher Luxon on Kerre Woodham Mornings with pinnaclelife.co.nz. Easy online life insurance. Call 0800 80 1080. Newstalk ZB.
Newstalk ZB. Michael, quick question from you.
Yeah, hi, Prime Minister. I'm a National Party member and attend a lot of your events, etc. 100% behind what you're doing, but I disagree strongly with the approach that you're taking with regard to David Seymour and Act's Treaty Principles Review Bill. And I'm just wondering, why are you taking such a strong position and saying, you definitely won't take it past first reading, when in fact you haven't really spoken to the people that voted you in to see what they think? Because there's a huge support for what Seymour's suggesting.
Huge support, Michael? How would you base that, given that the ACT didn't get as many votes as they thought they were going to get going into the election?
I'm sorry, what was that question? I missed it.
It's hardly huge support for the Treaty Principles Bill. It's a vocal support. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, look, Michael, what I'd say, is let's be clear. The most New Zealanders want us to focus on the cost of living crisis and rebuilding the economy. They want us to fix law and order, and they want us to deliver better health and education. When you ask them what is it they're expecting our government to do, that's what they want us to be focused on. That's what I'm focused on. We had a position before the election where we think that bill was incredibly divisive and actually unhelpful. That's the National Party position. I'm speaking as the National Party leader right now. Seymour and ACT have a different view, which they think it's a really, they want to take it to full referendum. We're in an MMP environment, rightly or wrongly. That's the electoral system New Zealanders have selected many, many times. We had to come to a compromise. I didn't get what I wanted. He didn't get what he wanted. And what we said is we'd support it to first reading and not beyond that. And so it'll go to first reading. It'll go through a select committee process. It'll come back for a second reading probably in mid-May. And as a National Party, we will vote that down. It's not something that we support.
You made that very clear in the lead up to the election.
Yeah, I was consistent with that before the election. We were consistent with that when we did the coalition negotiation, and I'm just being very clear about it as we go forward from here. But we do honour our coalition commitments, and that's why we will support it to first reading. There'll be an opportunity for an aeration to happen in the public discussion to happen through the select committee process, where people from all sides will have their views on it. But from a National Party position, it's not something we support.
Why do you think it's an experience or a maturity that's making David Seymour such a burr under his saddle?
Well, he has a constituency.
I hate to say it, but Winston Peters has been... I never thought I'd say this, and I'm going to say it. He's been amazing. As a politician and as a Deputy Prime Minister, David Seymour's acting like a brat, like an intelligent kid who hasn't been given enough to do. But there's a lot to do.
Well, I think he's doing he's taken over as minister. We've created something called Minister of Regulation to get rid of the red tape. That's what his number one job is to get rid of the red tape and get rid of all the compliance.
And he's been busy on education.
He's been busy, done a great job on attendance and education and charter schools and all that good stuff, which we're very supportive of.
So why is he racking you up?
Well, look, he's not. He genuinely, as a party, they have a constituency of people who think this is a very big issue. It's their number one issue for them. The reality is that's not the reality for New Zealanders.
It's
New
not
Zealanders
very statesman-like, is it?
We are in an MMP environment, right? And I think that's what I need New Zealanders to understand, which is if you go to Western Europe and you sit in Netherlands or Germany, you can have 3, 4, 5, 6 party coalitions. All those parties have different views and slightly different policies and have things that are important to them. And in a mature MMP environment in New Zealand, I appreciate, a lot of people don't like this conversation around the Treaty Principles Bill. It's not something I support or the National Party supports, but we have to be able to find a way and find a compromise to be able to deal with coalition. If you had Labour, Te Pāti Māori and the Greens, there'll be issues in that coalition that those three parties won't agree on either, that there'll be compromise around.
But when he becomes Deputy Prime Minister, you would want to see a different David Seymour, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm sure he'll be. I think the coalition is actually. I think if you're a member of the public looking at it, you can see that we are working incredibly hard. It's actually very aligned around the core stuff of the economy, law and order, public services. Yes, we have differences of opinion on an issue like this, but the vast majority of what we're doing is we're working very coherently, very cohesively. This hasn't, we just have different points of view, and we've been very upfront about it to say we've got differences, and this is how we're going to handle it.
There's ways of doing it, though.
Yeah, I'd say I get it, but the point is, I'd just say, each party will have its own flavour, its own presentation. The leaders are different, but I think, the way I'm working with David Seymour and Winston Peters and the way that the three-party coalition's coming together, I'm very, very proud about. I think it's very stable. I think we people can see we're working hard. We've got the right people on the right assignments. We're using the talents of everybody to get on and get stuff sorted.
But do you ever sit him down and say, mate, cool your jets?
Well, we have a lot of conversations behind the scenes with all the parties and within our own party, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. But we do that, in a very coherent, calm, sort of rational way. We agree to disagree, and that's what we've done here.
Alrighty, 10:33.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Good morning. On the southern, heading south, it is moderate around Green Lane. On the northern, moderate to heavy now Rosedale through to Sunny Nook City bound. There's also a moderate patch northbound over the bridge before it frees up. The northwestern, also moderate patch city bound before Newton Road. Otherwise, things are looking good. You can update us anytime by ringing through on 0800 JAMmed 0800 52 66 33. Tim Roxburgh for Time Saver Traffic.
Hurry in for the final days of Rebel's MVP sale with hot new deals added like 25% off Puma clothing and 20% off all running shoes, tennis and hine. Plus more in every store in Sunday at Rebel Sport.
Polestar 2, the EV that transforms performance. Minimalist design, immediate power. Every detail of the Polestar 2 is designed for a purely progressive drive. Discover our limited offer at polestar.co.nz.
At House Me, we know the best way to shop for a tiny home is to try one on. Ooh, that does look good on you. So slimming. So come and size up a House Me show home in Whangarei, Auckland, Tauranga, Hastings, New Plymouth, Palmerston North and now Christchurch. With tiny homes from 1 bedroom to 3, there's sure to be one in your size. Find a House Me show home and opening times at houseme.co.nz. House Me, the biggest name in tiny homes.
Tackling a home reno, DIY project, or looking for some design inspiration? The Northland Home and Lifestyle Show is back this September. Chat with the experts, compare prices, take home samples and lock in amazing show-only deals. The Northland Home and Lifestyle Show, powered by One Roof Property. September 27th to 29th at Mackay Stadium, Whangarei. Early bird tickets from just $3.50. Book at homeandlifestyleshow.co.nz.
Walker and Hall, where the diamonds shine, where gold and silver stand the test of time. For gifts you'll treasure the rest of your life, you'll find it at Walker and Hall.
Celebrating 125 years in New Zealand, Walker and Hall are proud to still be sharing in life's most special occasions for meaningful gifts made for every celebration.
You'll find it at Walker and Hall.
Newstalk ZB headlines.
With Blue Bubble taxis, it's no trouble with a Blue Bubble. The weather's causing major problems this morning. Heavy snow is blanketing parts of inland Otago and the Canterbury High Country, with thousands in central Otago without power. It's a no from Donald Trump. There was general consensus following Wednesday's debate that Vice President Kamala Harris dominated Trump. Harris wants another debate. Trump's having none of it. Labour MP for Mangere, Lemoinga Lydia Soseni, has been diagnosed with breast cancer and will take leave from Tuesday. House prices are picking up in some parts of the country and continuing to slide in others. Latest figures from the Real Estate Institute show the national median house price dropped 0.6% in the year to August. A major film production coming to Auckland is a sign of recovery in the industry after last year's Hollywood writers' strike. The Wrecking Crew is expected to begin filming in October. I can no longer bear to patch people up. A retiring doctor's fix for a failing health system. Read the full column at NZ Herald Premium. Back to Kerre Woodham.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. It is 23 minutes to 11. If you don't agree with David Seymour, Kerry, that doesn't make him a bad politician. I didn't say he was a bad politician. I said it's not very statesmanlike and being a bit sort of bratty. If you're going to be the Deputy Prime Minister, then I think, anyway, as you said, we've covered that one off. Health insurance. Would you please ask our Prime Minister whether in the immediate future he'd consider introducing some tax relief to those who have private health insurance? The current public health system makes it extremely necessary to belong to these private schemes if people need to be seen in a timely manner.
Yeah, look, it's an idea that's come through a few times, which is there a tax relief or tax credit that you can get for having private health insurance? It's not something that we've actually discussed at this point. What I am very interested in, what Shane Retty and I are very focused on, is actually the private healthcare system has capacity in it, and particularly when you've got a series of elective surgeries, and we've got a goal to get 95% of people to get their elective surgery within 4 months. We can, if you think about hip replacements, knee replacements, cataract surgeries, the private system should be just churning those out. And so we can actually send New Zealanders into the private system and use that system to be able to get those surgeries done. It means that the government obviously pays for that to happen in the private system rather than the public system. But I think we have to use the private healthcare system capacity as well as the public capacity. But on things that are standard, surgeries and are known quantities, they're perfect at powering through and getting through that list of wait list.
But isn't that the way the surgeons have structured it themselves?
No, it's actually that you've got high efficiency in the private system. It's got capacity, and it's very good at a known set of surgeries that we know we've got a backlog on or a wait list on. If we've got people waiting in the private system to get a knee replacement, which is a yes, it's a pretty up and down sort of surgery that's well known. Knee replacement, hip replacement, cataract surgeries,
hernias.
There's a number of them, right?
Really
that we should just be saying, right, let's buy those outcomes, and yes, let's use the private capacity, and you find that they can deliver it at a lower cost than we can in the public system. Then let's use that for sure. And that's we're interested on the health outcomes. We want less wait times for first surgeries, specialist appointments, ED wait times. So let's use other parts of the healthcare system to get that list down, that wait time down.
And so tax relief for...
Not something that's on the agenda at this point, but it's an idea that has been raised with me several times over the last couple of years.
It's been raised over the last 60 years.
It used to exist when I lived in Australia. I remember there was a tax credit I had at that time in Australia when I lived there with private health insurance as well. And most Australians actually had private health insurance at one point, but then the public system got so good that actually people opted out of it in the end.
Do you think that will ever happen to ours? I mean, especially, and this was a great line from David Seymour, I have to say, where he said that there are many, many public servants still working within the public service who are like Japanese soldiers who don't know the war is over, who are absolutely sabotaging from within. Well, what I'd say on healthcare is that it's the most complex portfolio we've got. We've got 85,000 people in there. We've got incredible... and the challenge we've got is we've put $30 billion worth of expenditure every year into healthcare. We just threw in the record amount of money, $16.7 billion, plus another $2 billion for Pharmac, plus $600 to $800 million for the cancer drugs. It's not the money, it's how it's spent.
No, but the money is going in. Just I want people to understand it's not an underfunding issue. We've got money going in, but it is actually how it is spent. And we've got 2,500 extra managers that have been put into the Health New Zealand system, and that's why we've shut down the board, and I've actually put a commissioner in there, Lester Levy, to work with 3 other commissioners for 12 months to get the Health New Zealand organisation working properly, so that when you tip money into it, it actually doesn't get lost in a bureaucracy of 14 layers from chair to patient. It actually gets out to the frontline services where it needs to get to. We've got incredible nurses, incredible doctors in the system, but the system lets them down. So we've got to work on the funding, which we're doing. We've got to work on the workforce. We've got 2,900 more nurses that have gone into the system. We've got 29,000 nurses, the most we've ever had now. We've had massive recruitment over the last 9 months in particular. And actually, when you look at the pay rates of nurses, it's getting into much better shape, good shape, which is fantastic. But now we've also got to get the operation and the organisation working well. So as money goes in, it actually gets not a third of it lost in the bureaucracy, but it gets to the frontline services. And that's why I put the commissioner in there, because that's a pretty serious move.
All right, Newstalk ZB, it is 17 to 11.
Subdog is back at Subway, bigger and better than ever. That means a Subdog for lunch, dinner, or any reason at all, because it won't be around for long. Order now on the Subway app, available at participating restaurants for a limited time only.
Kmart's dropped hundreds of prices right across their store. Shop now for even lower prices on your favourite products, like everyday tumbler glasses. A box of 6 dropped to just $7. Kmart, low prices for life.
Dreaming your favourite magazine could be delivered straight to your doorstep? It can be with Mag Shop, and it's delivered free of charge anywhere in New Zealand every time a new issue goes on sale. With so many magazines, including popular titles like The Listener, Your Home and Garden, NZ Women's Weekly, and more, and so many categories. Enjoy free delivery all year round. Subscribe today at magshop.co.nz.
Right now at Order Hearing Clinic, we'll double your Super Gold discount with 10% off our optimal and premium range of hearing aids, or 20% off if you bring a Super Gold friend along to your free hearing check. That could save you up to $2,000. Love your ears with double your Super Gold hearing aid discount at Audica. To find out more, visit audica.co.nz or call 0800 00 3880. Offer ends 30 September 2024 and not available with any other offer or discount.
Elite Bathroom Wear's massive home show sale is on now till Sunday.
Now's the time to head to Allens Road, East Tamaki and snap up the savings for yourself.
Up to 50% off selected Karoma products.
Grow a tapware from $149.
You name it, Elite's got it, and they're discounting it big time.
Enjoy elite service,
elite products
at affordable prices.
Only at the Elite Bathroom Wear massive home show sale. Allens Road, East Tamaki, on now till Sunday.
New Zealand Big Time Boxing is back. Manuka Doctor presents Nika versus Karpensi, live from the Viaduct Event Centre in Auckland tomorrow night. New Zealand's own David Nika versus three-time world title challenger Tommy Karpensi, plus a stacked professional and celebrity undercard. Watch the pay-per-view live and exclusive on DAZN, the global home of boxing. Download the app or visit dazn.com. Event info at ducoevents.com.
Christopher Luxon taking your calls on 0800 80 1080 on Kerre Woodham Mornings with Pinnacle Life. Get a life insurance quote in just 30 seconds. Newstalk ZB.
Newstalk ZB. Gosh, this goes quickly. Could you please ask, excuse me, Christopher Luxon, how do affected people have input on fast track proposal, which have had no disclosure to the public at all? You've mentioned fast track a couple of times.
Yes.
There are concerns from people, including James, who say, no, you're railroading. I need to be able to have my say.
Yep, so there'll still be an opportunity for that. So what happened was we have this idea of a one-stop fast-track legislation because the RMA has just made things, and resource consenting it's doubled in length, it's doubled in cost. It's one of the reasons people don't build things in New Zealand or invest in New Zealand, frankly, is because it's just considered to be too slow, too bureaucratic, too long. So we've had a bill which we took out, went to a first reading, has gone out to the Select Committee. That's when the public have come back and said, hey, listen, these are the things that we think we could make changes, sensible changes to improve it. That means that we have agreed, rather than having ministers make decisions, we actually will have an expert panel in place to actually weigh up the economic, the environmental benefits, but we are still going to move at pace through that. And that will be the opportunity from which people will look at the other considerations. But the idea here is if you want to build a renewable wind farm, that's not a conversation that needs to go on for 8 years. That is a conversation that needs to go on for 1 year.
But the
and get
public
built.
will still be able to...
Well, the expert panels will reflect those views.
How?
And they will have conversations with public on certainly issues around the environment or social benefits and weigh those up against the economic benefits. But I make no apologies. We are going to get things built, and it is ridiculous that it takes as long, costs as much to build stuff in New Zealand. A house in New Zealand costs 50% more to build than it does in Australia. And a lot of that's to do with resource consents. And so we can debate, discuss, we can have conversations all day long, but we now need to get things built in this country because otherwise we're just talking about stuff. We're not actually getting stuff done. So we've made some sensible changes based off public feedback to say, look, we don't like the idea of ministers unilaterally having control over that. But if you look at the initial set of projects that Chris Bishop released recently, I think there was almost 400 projects. I think almost 20% of them were in renewable energy spaces. There were other housing projects in there, other good things like that. So those are the things that will make the difference. That's what creates, once we get those projects away, that creates prosperity, lifts people's living standards.
Rowan, good morning to you.
Hey, Gary, how's it going? Hi, Chris.
G'day, Ron.
Hey. Good segue into my question. I'm a property owner, and we're wanting to do some upgrades, and also I've had a friend who's recently done some upgrades to his property, and around the RMA, or just it's not the RMA, the resource consent process and the building consent process, that almost cost as much as the work that he did on his property. And it's just absurd.
Yes.
How are you going to drive councils to ensure that they are delivering efficiently and cost-effectively to ratepayers? Because it is a bit of a concern. You talk to architects, you talk to planners, and they are all experiencing the same issues, and it just seems to be going into a brick wall and nothing gets done.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. The RMA cost has doubled. I think it's $1.3 billion a year people now just pay out on resource management, resource consenting, and the time has doubled. So it's just hugely inefficient, and it's all this local council sort of rules. And so we are powering through that with the fast track piece, but also ultimately next year we'll also launch our final solution for RMA as well, and that is to get that balance right. Chris Pink is doing a good job on building and construction. He's saying councils don't need to come on site and do inspections. You can do a lot of it remotely. You can do it through video. And we're getting rid of some of those things like, you can put a 60 square metre a building on the back of your property and you don't need a resource consent for that. That's all granny flats, and that might be for your teenager or your young person in your life or your parents or whatever. So there's literally lots of things we've got to do to just unblock the system that has created just stopping people from getting on and doing things on their own property and basic stuff. So Chris Pink's doing a great job, I think, of just go look at what he's announced over the last few months of just the things to unblock these irritants. But I'm with you. I think one of the things, and Simeon Brown and I talked about at the local government conference, is I want to benchmark the performance of our councils across this country. And I want to do that publicly, where they actually put up how long does it take to approve a resource consent, what are their actual performance time frames and deliverables, and how are they actually performing on the basics that they're supposed to deliver. Why do you need 3 people coming out to inspect your pool fence? It's just some really, that we've got to get them focused on the basics really well. Some councils do it well, some councils do it really badly, and that's why I gave that very strong message to councils to say, hang on, don't go do all the kumbaya and mushy stuff that's all very sexy and interesting above the surface. You've actually got to do the basics incredibly well, because that's what people are paying you to do. We have a lot of councils in this country. We have 1,600 elected councillors up and down it. It's a lot of complexity, and it's slowing things down. And families have had to adjust their belts. Businesses have adjusted their belts. Central government's adjusted its belts. And I expect councils to focus on the things that matter most to New Zealanders and their ratepayers, which is do the basics brilliantly, collect the rubbish. And so we're going to have we've seen it in Australia, where you actually put the council performance metrics up. Simeon Brown will work that up as local government minister, and actually then we can name and shame councils and their relative performance on responding to their customer, who happens to be their ratepayer.
Right, that'll be interesting reading. Luke, very quick one from you and a quick answer from you, Prime Minister.
Yes.
Luke, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Morning, Prime Minister.
G'day, Luke.
I want to ask you a question. The GST threshold that's been at 60,000 for forever, since 2009, is that ever going to go up?
Yeah, we're up for that conversation. I actually think, I don't want to talk off the top of my head, but I'm trying to think there is a conversation where we have talked about looking at that. So I can't give you a straight answer now, to be honest, mate, but I know that's a topic that we are open to.
Okay. And I'll ask you about, because this time last week we had Chris Hipkins talking about borrowing more and taxing more. I'll ask you about that after the break.
Continuous Group provides spouting fascia and downpipes that you can rely on, from just $28 per metre plus a free gutter wand. For the original continuous spouting installed nationwide, contact your local Continuous Group at continuous.co.nz.
This Saturday morning, Jack Tame talks gardening with Rude Kleinpast thanks to Still Shop. Don't miss Still Shop's biggest sale ever this spring. Gardening every Saturday morning with Still Shop, only on Newstalk ZB.
With daily non-stop flights to Los Angeles, the gateway to California and the West Coast, life awaits with American Airlines. LA is irresistible because there's always something new and exciting to explore. Experience the elevated comfort of American Airlines Premium Economy or Flagship Business, all from just $1,600 economy return ex-Auckland. Terms and conditions apply. Discover the world with American Airlines. Book now at aa.com.
Your ticket to UK and Europe in 2025 is here with You Travel and Cruise Early Bird Specials. Fly premium economy with Singapore Airlines and unlock the best of Europe with Trafalgar or an Insight Vacations premium tour. You Travel and Cruise Early Bird ends 30th of September. Call 0800 You Travel or visit utravel.co.nz today. Because no one sees the world like you. Travel periods and conditions apply.
It's D. Magnus Benro.
Blackout.
Sell out.
On now.
And we have the Fish and Pike stainless steel bottom mount fridge freezer.
We do.
How many litres, Adrian?
351.
Does it have an active smart food system?
It does.
Adaptive defrost?
Yes.
What about the LED lighting, the smart touch control panel and concealed handle?
Yes.
Ah, shut up. And the Magnus Benro blackout sellout price is?
What?
$1,549.
Get to the blackout.
Before we sell out.
Hi, this is George Bellani from Dream Beds Botany. Well, here we are in September with the winter months behind us and everything starting to bubble along towards summer. You can just feel spring in the air. It's a good time to start thinking about change, and if you'd like a really good night's sleep, well, we're here to help. Do not buy a new bed without seeing us first. Dream Beds Botany, 500 Tirakau Drive, Botany Downs, next to Harvey Norman, online at dreambeds.co.nz.
Newstalk ZB, it is 5 minutes to 11. No laughing matter. Chris Hipkins this time last week was talking about taxing more and borrowing more. And I said to him, you cannot be serious.
Well, I just think it's quite outrageous. I mean, literally, that government crashed the car. They put the car in the ditch, New Zealand's economy, right? They literally put it in the ditch. And they did that by actually spending more, borrowing more, taxing more. They increased spending by 84%, drove up inflation, drove up interest rates, put the economy into recession for the last few years, and raises unemployment. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was abysmal economic management.
Yes.
And then you put the car in the ditch. We're trying to get the car out of the ditch and get into first and second gear, and then ultimately into third and fourth and into top gear. And now he wants the keys back to go put it back into the ditch again by doing exactly the same thing. More, he said he wants to borrow more. He said he wants to tax more. And then I'm telling you, this conversation about a capital gains tax or a wealth tax or a capital income tax, they've got this tension within the Labour Party where David Parker's banging on about a capital income tax or wealth tax. Chris Hipkins now seems to want a capital gains tax, which he just ruled out, less than 10 months ago. And again, they're back at the well of where they've been in 2011 and 2014. We don't need to tax our way out of a recession. We need to grow our way out of a recession. And that's why I keep saying it's about education, infrastructure, technology, red tape, international connections.
But you can't do much about commodity prices.
But we can if we add value to our products and services over time. And if you look at what's happened in dairy, it's not actually the commodity end that we're actually succeeding in and why we're growing that so well. It's actually the high value end of the functional foods and the supplements and other things that we're doing in the food service side of things. So we can do that. We're doing a great job on advanced aviation and space, for example, which is coming through really well. We've got great opportunities in geothermal and renewable energy, where we're world experts at this stuff, that we can export that services to the world as well. So I just think, to be honest, we are in the mess we're in because, these guys ran up from $5 to $100 billion worth of debt. I now have an interest bill of $8 billion to maybe going to $10 or $11 billion on the debt. That means it's $8 to $10 billion I can't spend on hospitals or schools or other infrastructure, and we have got nothing to show for it. So I know I'm not meaning to be, because I'm trying to fix the problem and I've got to focus on the future, but I get very frustrated when these are the clowns, frankly, over the last 6 years that were economic vandals that put the car in the ditch and now they want the keys back, and it ain't going to happen.
How are we looking?
Well, I think
30 seconds. How are we looking?
Look, I think the country's got awesome potential. That's obvious to me when I get out and about in the world. We've got huge opportunities. I know we're going through a very tough time right now, but you've seen us. I think we've got to the bottom. There's some green shoots. We're starting to get our way out of it. Interest rates coming down, economy starts to grow, employment goes up, fantastic. Then we've got to grow, and that's exciting. How do we get the potential of this great country? And gee, it's a great country.
It is a great country. This is a great song. It's your choice, Post Malone.
Yeah, Post Malone. He's awesome. F1 Trillion. If you listen to one album this weekend, this is it.
Want to save every time you fill up at BP?